It's Sunday, February 7th, 2016, and this is the Product Mentor Talk. Today we're joined by one of our mentors, Felix Sargent, VP of Product at Seamless Docs, and he's going to lead a talk today on how to hire a product manager. So let me just briefly explain the format for those of you who might be joining us for the first time today. The people you see along the bottom of your screen here are mentors and mentees within the current session of the Product Mentor Program. Product Mentor Program pairs product mentors, people, executives, have lots of years of experience in the field of product management, with others looking to upgrade their skills in product management, everything from entry level to the more senior types of product management roles. They get paired up for 6 months, and they work on doing a lot of things, including these live streams from the mentors and some of the articles that you might have seen from our mentees posted on the blog. So everyone, if you just wave hi for a brief second, there you go. Those who can move. And so what we're going to do very quickly is just do some quick introductions. I'm going to start with Lonnie. As you introduce yourself, say who you are, whether or not you're a mentor or mentee.
I'm a mentee in this program. I'm a product manager working at a company called Booker that's based in New York City.
Excellent. And Felix.
Hi, my name is Felix Sargent. I'm the VP of Product over at Startup Seamless Docs.
And Bennett. And it looks like Bennett's audio is not working for us today. We'll work on getting that fixed later. But anyway. Felix is going to be leading a talk on how to hire a product manager. But as he's talking, jump in at any point with questions. And the way anyone can jump in with questions wherever you are is by visiting theproductmentor.com/live. And if you visit there, post your questions, and I will moderate them and pass them along to Felix in fairly near real time. And once again, I am Jeremy Horn, a.k.a. the Product Guy, and I'll be moderating today. With all that said, Felix, let me hand it over to you for your talk on how to hire a product manager.
Hi, everyone. It's very nice to see you and be on this. So I am currently the VP of Product over at Seamless Docs. Our company is focused on changing how government operates by taking all of their forms online, allowing citizens to fill them out, and take multiple signers, etc. Today this talk is going to be on how you can hire a product manager, one of the things that we're currently engaged in, trying to figure out how to expand and have people take over our teams. Let me switch over and turn on the slides. So first off, congratulations, because if you're hiring a product manager, something has gone either extraordinarily well or terribly, terribly wrong. And there's never ever going to be a situation where you're in between these scenarios. Either your company is doing well, you're expanding, you've managed to hire a good 5 or 6 more developers than you as a product manager or mentee can currently handle, or you had to fire someone, and you had a previously terrible product manager, and you realize this is not working out. What are we going to do? We need to hire someone better, and figure out how to, turn the ship around. So one of the first questions you have to ask yourself is, well, do we need to hire another product manager? And especially if you're a product manager yourself, which I would presume so, what kind of validation questions do you need to go through in order to say, yes, we need another product manager, I need someone to either help me out on this project, or we simply have too many developers, so the point which all the work coming through the pipeline, I'm not able to do effective work in order to validate the issues that we're going through. You can even find out. So when you hire new projects, and you're looking to start off a different direction for the company, or maybe you're taking an existing project and you're splitting it out into separate concerns. there are plenty of times where you realize, like, okay, we've made the structural investments from when we're a startup, and now we're going to separate out. We have a front-end component and all the design-related features that are going on there, and now we have a back-end API team. And that back-end API needs a product manager to be able to figure out, what kind of features we're going to add in here that will make the API faster, more consistent, more reliable, or be able to support the features on the front-end team. Whereas the front-end team has a good, 6 engineers on it, and they need a separate backlog that need a separate product manager to go over. So when you've decided that you need another product manager, that you need help, or the company needs help, then you have to figure out, okay, exactly what skills are we really looking for? When we create this position, you're not just going to say, okay, we need a new product manager, just give me anyone. The interesting thing about a product management position is that a product manager, by their definition, has a variety of skills. You don't simply start out being a product manager. You come from a background and say, you know what, I want to go and like, say you're a software engineer, and you say, like, I like being a software engineer, but I much prefer controlling the direction of the product that it takes. Or say you're a marketing manager, and you say, the way that we're marketing our product is good, but I want to actually have control of the vision or the different segments that we go into, and how can we change the scope of our brand in order to be able to more properly attract different companies, and what kind of features do we need to change to the product in order to be able to focus our brand strategy into those different segments. So when hiring a product manager, know whether you're going for design, strategy, someone who's really good at budgeting and resource management, someone who is focusing on delivery and actually shipping the product or making the changes actually viable as opposed to planning. Someone who's good at politics. Unfortunately, being a product manager is inherently a political position. When at a former company that I was at, we ran into a scenario where my boss wanted to bring on another product manager, and I didn't understand this at the time because I wasn't overburdened with the amount of work that I was doing, and are you sure we need to bring on another product manager? And it wasn't about the work. It was about the balance of power between the different portions of our company. Now, I don't necessarily think that's a great reason to hire another product manager, but certainly having more people on your team can help with advocacy towards higher management if you're in a very large organization, and can also bring a new set of skills to the table where you previously weren't focusing on that area. So when Google wants to hire a product manager, how do they do it? First, this is a sample product manager position. It's quite possibly one of the most generic positions that are available for a product manager. The only real thing they say they need is, have you done it before? And do you know things about computers? Like, do you have any kind of technical experience? And it's really interesting what the interview is telling you. They don't talk about Agile. They don't talk about methodologies. They don't say, are you good at breaking down stories? Can you make a Gantt chart? They don't list any tools. The most important thing here is empathy. Ultimately, can you talk to engineers and have them listen to you? And do you have experience actually delivering things before? Look at understanding the search engine space, or written excellent on oral communication skills, organizational or analytical skills. All of these say, can you communicate effectively? Another company that I think has been doing amazingly well in creating literature for product managers has been Intercom. And if you haven't seen, Intercom has been putting out quite a few white papers recently on how to do effective product management. They have a fantastic conversation on why saying no is one of the most important things a product manager can do, and all the different reasons that a product manager might have to say no. You know, oh, a customer wanted it. Oh, our competitors are doing it. No, 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 no. And it's interesting when you look at the position that they've created and what they're actually looking for when they hire a product manager, despite the fact that they've already put out all of these articles on what a product manager should already be. And again, a strong design background, excellent communicator, and having been able to ship. You need to be able to have a mix of analytical thought and creative thought to be able to say, yes, we could do that. Definitely, it's within the realm of possibility. But perhaps if we tweak it here, here, and here, we can make it more targeted towards our customers, or we can be able to get it out of the door sooner. And I think next up, good. So the question is, you know what you want to look for. You should, assuming you're already a product manager. Where do you start looking? Do you look over here, windmills, on dams, over in Nice? Should you hire this guy? I don't know. He seems to be kind of off on his own. Where are all the product managers? In my experience, going to dice.com is not very useful. The signal to noise ratio has been just dreadful. You tend to find people who have been at incredibly large institutions who have lots of very like Six Sigma type of product management strategies, which are focused around process rather than focused on empathy or the ability to relate to the team and be able to remove roadblocks for them. Angel.co hasn't been bad. I find that you'll find a lot younger audiences there. It'll be easier to find more junior product managers. At the same time, if you're advertising for a position on Angel.co, you're going to be looking for a person who can take a more innovative look at product management in general, rather than someone who's just been a practitioner, such as like an Agile or Sigma 6 practitioner, and just, you know, these are the rules, I carry them out, that's my job, don't bother me. LinkedIn, strangely enough, is still one of the best places to look for people, simply because, one, you have a really good understanding of how they can connect to you. Reaching out to them is easier. No one honestly checks their LinkedIn, but if you find someone, if you're trolling LinkedIn, it's very good to just go to their website and send them an email. And if they don't have a website, why are you hiring them? Hired.com has also been incredibly useful for me in my process of searching for a product manager, because they have the incentives in the right place and they have a very good filtering mechanism. In some ways, hiring can be very much like dating. You go through a lot of people, you try to find somewhere that works, and you find that the places that you look define the kind of people that you meet. Hired.com seems to be people who are, yeah, I'd say Hired.com is the Match.com equivalent of hiring, because it's people who are serious about it, they're willing to invest time and effort, and they'll take you seriously as well. But the best place to search, of course, is your local product meetup, which, assuming you're on this call and listening to Jeremy and my voice, you already know. If you have any open positions, feel free to get in contact with Jeremy and place them on the job forum there. And also, if you're looking for a position, it's always best to reach out through your network, because a personal introduction is second to none. So let's say at this point you've gone to those websites, you've collected a huge amount of resumes. Now you need to start filtering. And this is, I don't know whether you would say this is the fun part or the part that makes you want to go home and cry and pour yourself a stiff drink every night. Because trying to evaluate people's resumes is painful, because it's amazing what people will pass off as as having prior experience. There are people who say they have 6 years experience in product management and they come from a janitorial background, and that's what you'll find. The most important thing that you need when you're hiring someone is that they ship product before. And that makes it very difficult for people to be able to get into the industry. But at the same time, I don't believe you should ever hire a product manager with no experience. The question then becomes, how do you actually become a product manager? You should be a product manager by being on a team and then being the most organized one on that team. If you can, if you're a person who's watching this talk saying, okay, how do I get hired? Find yourself on a software engineering team that lacks a product manager, and then realize what they need to get done that falls outside of the boundaries of everybody else's role. Someone who can pick up everyone else's work and make sure that they remove those the blockades. That's what a product manager does. They should have a previous technical background when you're looking for a product manager, and this is controversial. Mainly because having a technical background is difficult. But when I say technical background, I don't mean you have to be a software engineer. And also, I don't think product management is unique to software engineering. What I mean is a product manager by trade exists to coordinate the work of talented individuals. You need to be able to hold the vision and then break the vision into components or pieces of work that these very skilled individuals can complete, put together, and then have that vision be fully formed. If you don't understand the nature of the medium that you're working in, you can't create work for them. You can't say, oh, right, I understand, this is going to be that difficult, or you can't say that whether something will even be possible or not. If you are a project manager or a designer for a knitwear company, making things out of chainmail is going to be very different from making things out of yarn. More importantly, on a resume, you want to see that they're proud of their previous work. Product management is a hugely personal endeavor. If the resume doesn't speak from a position of pride and excitement, then they probably weren't very good at their job, which is unfortunate. But part of being a product manager is being able to inspire the people you work with and to be able to encourage them to push on, to reach higher heights, and to make something that they're proud of. If you as a product manager can't be proud of the work that your team is producing, it's your fault. You have the most power on that team, and whether you want to hire more developers or engineers to be able to put better work out, or you need to slow the team down so that they actually make high quality stuff, that's your decision and not something that the engineering team can overrule on you. And this is a really good sign. When a product manager writes and is involved in the community, that means that they didn't just fall into it. It's something where they also want to give back. Being a good product manager means being able to mentor the people you work with, because ultimately you're going to find yourself in political situations or situations where you have to make hard decisions. Do we need to invest in making sure that our platform is more stable, or should we try to figure out how we can make more features and let the bugs exist, but at least for now we're capturing different parts of the market? If you're making these hard decisions, you need to be able to reason through them. You can't just make arbitrary decisions and hope it works. If you can reason through it, you should also be involved in making sure that other people don't make that mistake, And you should be turning towards your own mentor or your community for advice when you're in a difficult situation. A product manager who is not involved in the product management community, I mean, they have other obligations in their life, but they're missing out on a key part of information. And often it's a great sign in an interview to say, well, who do you read? Reasons to exclude. When they, this is the key error that I see the most, is that the product manager will list the tools that they use, and they will list the job description of what they're looking for, and especially a bad job description. Where, oh, I facilitate Scrum ceremonies, I tell people how to use Jira, and I do lots of planning. Nowhere in this does it talk about any of the previous stuff we talked about, where there's no sense of empathy, there's no sense of here are the hard decisions I had to make. It's more along the lines of, well, everyone tells me what they're doing, and then I make that the plan. Or I put into practice something I took in a 2-day course that my boss sent me to. This is taken from a real resume, and you could hire this person. Watch out. Oh, this is something that makes me cringe so much when I see, especially when on LinkedIn, I'll see product managers they'll list their certifications in their name, as if Felix Sargent, PMP, or certified Scrum Master, and they'll be so proud. And it doesn't mean anything. It means you sat in a class and you didn't screw it up. It doesn't mean you can deliver. It doesn't mean you've had any experience shipping. It doesn't mean that your team likes you. It's when I see more certifications than achievements and milestones, I recoil instantly. When you're looking at this individual's set of certifications, they're really good at their tools, but just because someone is good at a hammer, does that mean that they know how to build a house? Product management is more than the sum of its parts, or more than its education. You need to have design, you need to have good eye, you need to be able to facilitate conversations, and most importantly, you need to be able to hear what's not being said. When I first became a product manager, I was very confused because I was used to being a software engineer, and after after about a month or so, I went to my boss and I said, Duncan, I'm worried I'm not doing enough. When I was a software developer, I knew what I needed to do every day. Now that I'm a product manager, I facilitate the conversations, I know what people are working on, but I'm just not busy enough. And he said, don't worry about it, Felix. It's not, your job is not to be busy all the time. Your job is to have your head up while their heads are down, so that you can see what's coming and what's going to derail this project, because there's always something coming. When I see this kind of busy work or focus on continual certifications, I find someone who uses their process as a driving goal without using their intuition. Oh, so here's my own resume. I don't know if I can really say that it's a good example, because that would be presumptuous. But the key things that I've tried to highlight on my resume have been my experience, the places that I've worked, and the products. As a product, in a product management resume, you shouldn't just say, oh, I was a product manager at so-and-so company. You should say, this was my product. This is what I did with my product. This is how my product changed. This is what we were able to achieve. This is how I changed its focus. With Autoscale, for example, we started it, we made it from scratch, and then we shipped it out. I have clear and consistent metrics about what we were able to achieve by building this product. And I also discuss my previous experience and how I came in as a software engineer at CloudCake and transitioned into a product manager. And feel free to critique my resume in the questions if you like. So let's see. You've gone through all the resumes. You've found a select few that you like. Even fewer of those have responded and said, yes, I'm interested in joining your company, or let's have an interview. Now, what are you looking for in this interview? First, you're probably going to be doing a phone interview, and you want to know about their energy and their feel. If they have poor communication skills, if they don't sound excited, if they don't ask about your product and what they're going to be taking on, they're not prepared. They need to have a level of confidence to be able to manage a product. Without confidence or exuberance for the product that you need their help on, they won't be able to inspire customers, or even worse, inspire their team. Unfortunately, they need to have an understanding of office politics. When a product manager takes over an existing product, or even more rare, they start a product from scratch, they need to know, or they need to be conscientious of the situation that brought them to this. Like, how did this miracle come to pass that you as a product manager are actually getting hired? I mean, the ratio between a software engineer and a product manager is around 5 to 7 to 1, meaning 5 to 1, 7 to 1. So actually getting a product management job is much, much more rare, considering how difficult it is to be able to hire engineers relevant to the position. So when someone needs to come on, they need to know whether they're joining the scenario because someone was terrible or because everything's going great. And then if everything's going great, who do you report to? What, who do they need to make look good? How's the team feeling? Is the team thinking like, oh God, we really don't want another product manager. The last one was terrible, and all they did was had continual meetings, and then we used to have half-hour stand-ups, and then we had 4-hour Scrum meetings every week. Or are they chomping at the bit, being like, oh my God, our CEO is crazy. Help us. There's no organization. We're going from fire to fire to fire, and we're never able to do things in the way that we need to get them done. And also, as I said before, they need to have a skill set similar to the team. When you're hiring a product manager, you already have a product in mind. And they need to have, or they should have, some kind of market experience in that product. If you're designing massive, like, scalable cloud infrastructure, they should have some kind of operations experience. They should be able to know, what are our customers going to be experiencing when they use this software, and even more so, how can I know when to call bullshit on my software engineers if they're trying to get a fast one past us? So when I go into an interview, these are some of my favorite interview questions. And my favorite one is, what's the best way to interview you? Or another way to put that is, if you were interviewing yourself, what questions would you ask you? And I know that's a real pain in the ass kind of question, but the most important thing you want is, you need a product manager to be able to talk about themselves and talk about what they've been able to achieve. The problem with a lot of product management questions is that you don't know where their best skills lie, and you want them to be able to, if you say, tell me about things that you shipped, well, they might not have shipped anything because they only developed internal tools, and that might be what you're looking for. or they might be focusing on design and brand management, whereas a lot of the product management interview questions are focused around software engineering. How would you spend the first month on the job here? As a, I think actually my last talk with the product mentor group was talking about how to take over a product. It is one of the most perilous times when a new product manager comes on board, because they come from a different background and a different culture, and can say, well, in my old company, oh, when I was at Google, oh, when I was at Facebook, we used to do these kinds of meetings, we need to do these kinds of meetings. And if you get someone who says, well, first things I'm going to do is I'm going to do these ritualized stand-ups and this strict process, and we're going to do a full rescoping of what the product is. You want to find someone that that actually asks questions, that say, well, when I joined the first month, in my first month on the project, I'm gonna set on one-on-ones with everyone, and I'm gonna ask people, why did I get hired? If your product manager says, I'm going to ask people why I got hired, hire them immediately, because they know what kind of problems they're going to actually run into. And they should also be patient. A product manager who comes in and makes changes without understanding the scope of the problem is going to make the situation worse. What's a product you love? I like this question because as a product manager, you can't not be passionate about making things. And you also need to be able to have a good understanding of what's going on in the rest of the community. You should be able to say, I absolutely love using the iPhone. I mean, it's a terrible example. I would encourage people to use a different one. But Intercom, for example, is a product that I love because they've been able to close the loop on a variety of different customer interactions very, very quickly, and that they focus primarily on their core users, customer support and customer success and account management, versus the customers themselves. And they don't use a ticketing system, they just say, let's chat. But at the same time, they also base themselves around the metrics that account managers need to be able to accomplish their job. It's not just how do we make the customers happy, but how do account managers create engagement. And that's a key difference with Intercom. You want a product manager who's going to be able to say, this is a product I love because they chose to see this market in a different way, and they're nailing it. What's the role of culture on the team? As a product manager, you're also going to be controlling, or controlling is the wrong word, you're going to be influencing the culture of the team. When another way to describe culture is practices and rituals. When a team is just software engineers without a product manager, they work on cool stuff, right? Every software engineer wants to work on cool code, or sometimes you might find a software engineer who says, this is terrible, I'm going to fix all of it. But one of the driving things about being a software engineer is wanting to fix the big problems. As part of being a product manager, you need to be able to balance that out with, okay, what are the big problems and what are the interesting problems? As a product manager, you're also going to be saying, you're going to be codifying the principle, the way that a team practices its work into repetitive tasks rather than things that just kind of happen. If you have a software engineering team and they're not doing code reviews, for example, you as a product manager should say, hey, I've noticed we're seeing a huge number of bugs. we should, would it be a good idea for us to be able to do code reviews? And that's something a product manager should know and understand, because ultimately, a product manager is going to be the last bastion of quality for any software project that's getting released. A product manager needs to be able to accept the work that's completed. One of the other questions that I like asking is, what is the role of code review on a team? Because ultimately, the product manager needs to say, you know what? I know you've been working on this for a week or two, but that's not good enough. We need it to be better. We need it to be, that doesn't solve the customer's problem, right? That button doesn't work, or I tried using it and it goes the wrong way, or that's confusing. And sometimes that's because of the product manager's own specifications. But you need to be a product manager needs to be able to instill a process of continual improvement and one of learning in their practice and into the team, because that's their role, and it's not the role of a software engineer or a team lead to be able to do that. Oh, this is a great one. So one of the problems when I see product managers who are focused entirely on their on the practices and methods and procedures, or sometimes I see a product manager who will come from like a technical documentation background and not be involved in the culture, but they'll be interviewing with me anyway. One of the ways that I can instantly disqualify them, and I say, what's the difference between Agile and Waterfall? As a product manager, you need to know this. I once had a phone call where I asked, what's the difference between Agile and Waterfall? And she said, well, there are different methodologies. Agile, very small iterations, and Waterfall, you do this big long planning. And I said, well, what's a scenario under which you would use Waterfall planning instead of Agile? And I hope some of you in the audience are smiling wryly at this. There is never a time where you should use Waterfall. And maybe that's my own personal opinion, but Waterfall, by its very nature, doesn't work simply because rather than having small problems, you have big problems. And so if something goes wrong and you've already planned it, it's terrible. Her answer to this question was, well, if you've got a time frame of around 2 years, your product doesn't need to be released for 2 years. I think that would be a good time to use Waterfall. Needless to say, this person did not get a call back. One of the best writers on this subject has been Ken Norton's article on how to hire a product manager. And what he says is, first, hire all the smart people. You want to, if they exude confidence and intelligence, if they're able to tell you something about your product that you didn't even know, or that you were worried about, that means that they're already on point. They're ready to be able to start from day one. They need to have a strong technical background, and that's because they need to be able to have empathy with the team. They need to be able to call bullshit when engineers try to slip something past, or say like, oh yeah, it totally works, or oh, I'm just finishing this up, or don't worry, that'll be easy, or give bullshit timelines, which means you can't properly generate estimates or figure out if you're making the right trade-off between something that's easy to do and something that's hard to do. A product manager needs to have spidey sense. They need to be able to look out into the market and say, you know what? No one's doing this. Maybe instead of trying to catch up with our competitors, we need to be able to do something completely different and invest in that, because there's a market that hasn't been spoken for. And they need to have leadership that's earned. They need to be able to be respected on the team, and you want someone who can stay as late as the engineers are staying. You want someone who can call bullshit enough times where people go, you know what, he's gonna call or she's gonna call bullshit on me, and I need to step up to the plate so that the quality of work that this team puts out is something we're all proud of. And they need to be able to channel multiple points of view. They need to be able to organize a discussion, because a product manager does not know everything and should not know everything. And if they think they do know everything, then they're going to be disruptive. Ultimately, when working with extraordinarily skilled people, sometimes the product manager might be the dumbest person in the room, but if they're able to appropriately bring together the different viewpoints that are in the room, they can come to a better conclusion. You see this with very good politicians, where they might not know the right answers themselves, but they know how to listen to people properly, and they know how to call bullshit properly, and then they're able to back the right process, or even better, ask the right questions to people who are intelligent, or bring people who are disagreeing together to reach a better conclusion. And ultimately, give me someone who's shipped something. If they haven't shipped anything before, I don't know that they'll be able to ship anything again. And there's nothing more important in product management than shipping something. Even if it's terrible, if it does something, it's better than nothing. And that makes a huge, huge difference. And it's not just to say, like, oh, we shipped it because it's public, but it needs to be something that people have used and say, it works for me. Maybe it's not perfect, but it works for me. So we kind of went over this previously in the talk, but I want to go over it again, because requiring a technical background is going to be the hardest thing for...
Actually, before you jump into this part, Felix, and you don't have to jump into video, you can stay in your presentation mode. I just want to raise to everybody, this is kind of your last chance to get any questions in. So if you have any questions for Felix, post it to theproductmentor.com/live, and I'll pass it right along as we're starting to wind down this particular talk. Back to you, Felix.
Okay. So, a technical background being necessary. I have seen personally software engineers lie and fib to their product managers simply because they have no respect for what the product manager does. And I can't tell you how impressive it's been to a team to be able for me to say, hey, can you give me GitHub access? I want to be able to fix this. Or as a product manager, I'll go in and I'll fix copy, or I'll be able to resolve bugs, or it's actually easy to forget about this, but one of the main things a product manager does is also they need to be able to be the first line of defense for when there are bugs. Customer support can only troubleshoot so far before it needs to be able to go to the product manager, so the product manager can then prioritize that bug. That product manager needs to be able to say, oh, let's try to get all the information I can about why this bug is occurring before my software engineer needs to look at it, because the software engineer's time is far, far more valuable than the product manager's. And so if the product manager can get together, here's the relevant logs, this is the user's log information, this is the form that they were previously on, this is the error message they saw, here's a screenshot, and this is how I was able to reproduce it, then a software engineer can just get in and get going right away. Whereas I've seen product managers who said, oh, so-and-so said this, and they're just being a relay. If your product manager is just being a relay, they don't have a job. They're just there because as an institution, your company has required this position to be filled. They're not necessary on the team. So ultimately, they need to be able to be capable of empathy. The product manager should be there to support the software engineers or the skilled individuals on this team first and foremost, and then look towards the customers. They need to be able to do lie detection. They need to be able to be trustworthy, so that when a product manager says we'll be able to deliver on this date, they need to be able to have an understanding of exactly why that date is there and why it's difficult to achieve things sooner or later. A product I've seen, the most irritating thing about non-technical product managers is that they will say, come on, can't we do that faster? Or I read a tutorial about this, or can't we just use this third-party service in order to be able to do our authentication layer? Or here's this blog post, it seems easy. Those are terrible, terrible product managers. And they're terrible not because they're not good at the other parts of product management that I've described, where they're good at politics, they're good at being able to prioritize what customers are, what customers need, or even bringing together the company and the team into figuring out what a prioritized list is. They're terrible because they suffer from what's called the Dunning-Kruger effect, where they are so unbelievably ignorant about how difficult something is that they assume it's easy. I'm not saying that you need to be the world's best software engineer, but you need to be able to understand how difficult something is before someone else who's an expert at it can say, well, it is difficult, but I can kick it out in a week. And again, leadership. You need to be able to inspire these people, and you can't inspire a technical team if you sound like an idiot all the time. And ultimately, a product manager needs to be the voice of prudence. They need to be able to say, well, I understand that we want to be able to do this code refactor, which is going to be able to improve performance, or it's going to be able to make the code prettier. But right now, this is on fire, and we need to be able to make sure that the platform is more stable, or we need to be able to get this feature out so that our CEO or founder can actually close the next round of funding. If we don't have this feature out, we won't have the customers necessary to support it. You know what? Things can be on fire for a little while because the company has different concerns. That level of prudence only falls upon a product manager. And sometimes, and most of the time, you need a technical background to be able to be sure that you're making that right decision.
So I'm going to jump in. We've got a question from Lonnie, and so I'm going to hand over to Lonnie to ask his question.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm wondering who from within the hiring company should give their input on a job candidate. So if you or I, for example, were in charge of kind of the whole process, like would you want to get people from other departments like sales, who the product manager might need to work with to be part of the process, or designers, engineers, like who else should be part of it?
So most importantly, if you currently have a product manager, or either you should have a product manager or CEO. You need to have someone who actually has that product experience. They need to be leading the process of choosing a product manager, because ultimately they're going to be able to report to them. Or I was in a scenario where I was a technical product manager, and then we had a senior product manager brought in over me, and I never interviewed him, and it was a nightmare. It was a terrible situation because we butted heads, and the team was like, do we really need a product manager? And the reason this product manager was brought in was because the director of the company that I was of the office that I was working at the time didn't enjoy the direction that the product was going in, but wasn't talking to us about it, and was limiting communication between our team and the board and executives at the same time, while we were working with the teams that were actually using our product and focusing on the customers. There are lots of scenarios where this can go really wrong. So give it to, obviously, your key stakeholders. In the actual interview process, it is essential that you have the team interview the product manager. So first of all, I would say do a phone interview, then do a in-person interview with the existing product manager, someone from the customer success team, and then if you can, bring the whole team in, because the whole team needs to be able to vet this person. I'm big on whole team interviews. I don't think the group interviews are necessarily a bad idea. I think you need to be able to have a filtering process before you disrupt the whole team to be able to bring that interview in. So, do one day where it's one-on-ones, and then if you say okay, we're ready to move forward with this candidate, let's get it signed off from the team, bring them all in. Does that answer your questions?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Cool.
Cool. And the next question comes from Liel, and they are asking: is there a difference in what you're looking for an associate versus a product manager versus a senior person? Would the seniority level affect the process and qualities you're looking for?
So, I don't believe that teams ever need 2 product managers. I think if a team needs 2 product managers, then what you've got is one bad product manager. You should promote the junior product manager. The problem is that teams need to have one consistent voice. I believe that there needs to be a technical lead and then a product manager, and I think that they can separate their concerns, and that a technical lead can talk about, these are the libraries that we use, these are the things we need to focus on, this is how code review should be done. But when you have 2 product managers, I think there are too many situations where they can disagree, and for them to disagree in public is very, very difficult. I believe that you can bring in an associate product manager, like a junior product manager is absolutely fine if the team likes them and they feel that they have the confidence. Most of the time when, I talked about this at the beginning of the talk, becoming a product manager tends to come up out of the team in the first place. But if you didn't come from the team in the first place and you got brought in as a junior product manager, you still need to have the qualities of being able to have leadership, be able to learn, be able to facilitate conversation, and have some experience in software engineering, so that you can call bullshit on some of that stuff. That having more experience doesn't mean you have those qualities. You don't have those qualities. Having more experience means that your vision is further down the road. It means that when something's coming up that's going to derail you, you can head it off at the pass, or that you know how to ask the right questions. You know that, okay, I need to have one-on-ones with every one of my stakeholders, or else someone's going to be able to get angry. As an associate product manager, you'll make mistakes. You'll just make fewer mistakes with experience, but you still need all of those skills. Does that answer your question, Liel?
Well, I think one of the other parts of the question that they were asking about was with respect to process.
Mm-hmm.
Do you change the process for the different level of product person?
Well, the product person is the person who's in control of the process. You're saying the
interview process.
Well, if I'm hiring an associate product manager, I'll often have already seen them facilitate conversations with the team. When I'm hiring a more junior product manager, or when I'm hiring someone not as a peer, as someone who's going to be taking over a smaller product, no, I think I ask them the same questions. It's just I want to make sure that they can work well with me too, and that if we're hiring them and then we're going to be working together as peers, it's very different from me hiring them together and me being like, okay, I see where your weaknesses are, but I feel that I can support you in growing to overcome those weaknesses. One of the best advice I ever heard about hiring was, you should hire for your weaknesses. So as a product manager, I don't think I have very good design skills. And so a product manager who has a very good design background, or very good very good background in doing user experience testing, and then creating many different varieties and going to the customers to be able to get that experience back, I think would be incredibly helpful to me. Again, the situation is going to be very personal when you're doing it yourself.
Very good. So we don't have any other questions right now, but you can keep them coming in for at least a couple more minutes to theproductmentor.com/live. And with that said, back to you, Felix.
Okay. So, oh, here, I did the wrong thing. Entire screen, because then you can get it full screen. So, next, this is the fun bit. You need to make that offer. You found someone you like. Now, how much are you going to pay them? If you're currently a product manager, you might not actually get the ability to make this decision. But if you're in a small group, your boss might say, well, how much should we pay this person? You know how much you're getting paid. What should you offer them? This is the median salary for a mid-experienced product manager in New York City, range 75 to around 150. And I don't think this is unreasonable. Ultimately, they should be the one telling you what price you should do. If you're interviewing for a product management position, I cannot tell you enough how important it is to have your employer make the first offer. I remember interviewing at Bloomberg, and they, hey, I would love for you to tell us what your most recent salary was, and I'd say, well, I would prefer you actually judge me based on my experience and the quality of my interview. You know better than me what you can offer, and make me an offer, and we'll go from there. And they made me an offer better than I was expecting, better than I would have asked for. And you want to actually hire a product manager who can dominate that conversation, because ultimately, as a product manager, they're going to be doing a lot of negotiation. If your product manager can't negotiate a decent salary, I mean, you've already gotten them that far. You should already like them. But it's something that I suppose on the other side of it that you should really be concerned with. If you're interviewing, you should know that as a product manager, if I'm going to be if my job's about negotiation, I should be able to negotiate my salary damn well. At the same time, it's important to be able to tell your product manager, like, if you're interviewing someone junior, this is the offer we're going to make you, but we're very excited to be able to upgrade you over time. When I first became a product manager, I think I was earning 80K, and then I managed to negotiate for raises every year. And it worked very well, but I do believe that starting at 80K is, again, the low end of the range. And then, so they accept the offer. Wish you the best. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you, and really special thank you to Felix Sargent, VP of Product at Seamless Docs, our mentor talk speaker for today, for today's discussion on how to hire a product manager. Really insightful, great walkthrough of the entire process. And whether you're hiring or actually trying to be hired, I think this is great for both ends of that pipeline. And also, as always, the presentation will be posted to our SlideShare channel. And also, big thank you from me, Jeremy Horn, the product guy, and to everyone else who joined us today in the Product Mentor. And don't forget, if you're interested in being a product mentor, very much like today's speaker, Felix, to product people of all sorts all around the world, please visit theproductmentor.com and sign up to be a mentor today. Session 5 starts on May 1st, and we're definitely looking for a bunch more mentors. Also, if you're looking to fill a new product job with a great product person, visit our very own free-for-all job board at theproductjobs.com. And with that said, I'll see you guys all soon. Bye.